Hi everyone, nubkeks here and welcome back to Nub Raids. Today we're on the test server and we're going to be taking a look at something I don't think they've ever done before. They have nerfed 3 of the bosses in the game. The Iron Twins Fortress, the Sand Devil's Necropolis, and the Phantom Shogun's Grove. These nerfs are going live this week, probably on Thursday. But let's dive in and let's take a look at what has actually changed. Okay, so first up, we are going to look at the Sand Devil's Necropolis, and what we're going to do, let me play you some footage of a run. It's a very quick run. So this run right here is from the live game. This is what you would run into if you were to fight this right now. So we put the boss to sleep. We can pay attention to, look, roughly speaking, Newt's hitting for 400 to 500k. This one's not in Savage. He doesn't hit quite as hard. There's quite a bit of variation with the boss's HP and so on. This is the actual team I run on the live server, and there we go. So we've basically, 2 Newts do their thing, they reset, they go again, 23 seconds. Let's jump into it now. Exact same team, exact same builds, nothing has changed, and this is on the test server, and then I'll break down the changes that we can see in the dungeon journal as well, because there's some pretty massive ones. Okay, good. We landed all the debuffs, so same thing. Number 1, you might see immediately way lower damage, like 300k. Look at the boss's health bar. It's being absolutely deleted though, right? So immediately you are seeing the HP, and look at that, bam, 19 seconds. Huge change, right? The boss is just way squishier. Way squishier, and if you were paying attention, you'll probably have noticed some other smaller changes as well. That was actually kind of a lucky showcase, but here you can see 8 counters on the slumber counter in case you guys were paying attention. On some of my runs, we didn't actually kill it in the 3 Newt turns it took 1 extra, or we need Soul Reap or something. But yeah, there are more changes than that, so let me break it down to you first. But this is going to be consistent across all of these bosses. Okay, so this time I was slightly lower on damage. That's fine, like Giant Slayer didn't proc or something, right? But you still get the idea. It's still dying way faster. So nearly all of the bosses, it looks like their HP and their defense have all been lowered a lot, and also the accuracy and resistance requirements. I'm not sure how much. You could work out the HP from the stats I'm going to give you here. Not sure exactly the accuracy and resistance changes. But yeah, so here's one big thing. In the in the Sand Devil, so I was going to do Iron Twins first, I changed my mind. But with Sand Devil, the way that it works, right, he has damage reduction. This has not changed. It's still 25% on stages 1 to 5, 50% on stages 6 to 15, and 75% on stages 16 to 25. Now, on the live servers, the original version of the Sand Devil, every debuff you put out would decrease this amount by 10%. And this was multiplicative, so you would always need 10 debuffs to fully remove that damage reduction, always. They've now changed this to 15%. So now, instead of needing 10 debuffs to totally remove this damage reduction, you only need 6.66, right? Or, in other words, like in this run right here, I have 4 debuffs. So before, that would give me 40% reduction. So whatever 40% of 75 is. Now, instead of 40%, it's 4/15s, 60%. So the boss has much less damage reduction. It's way easier to do damage to the boss. Way easier. And the more debuffs you have, the better it is. So something like getting your... And again, remember, accuracy requirements going down. So you get your champion in a toxic set, right? I could switch Ruella now from all this perception, because she had like 600 accuracy or something crazy before. Not sure what it is now, but if that goes down a good chunk, could switch her to toxic, get a good chance to place poisons. That's another 15% damage reduction if she places a poison, and the boss could go down much more easily. Another, this is a slightly smaller thing. On the live servers, whenever Alnema attacks, he destroys your max HP by 10%. Now it's 5%, so they have halved his HP, max HP destruction. I actually think this is going to have a very large effect. It doesn't sound that big, but it's big. Number 1, with this team, it doesn't matter. But I'll show you just another example of a more casual team with actually the new fusion, just for fun. But like for those longer teams, right, when you're not running a crazy speed team like this, like when you fight Alnema in, let's say, in Cursed City, or if you don't have a crazy whale team like this, right? you are going to get your max HP destroyed. So number one, it's going to make it easier to survive. Number two, it's going to make it easier to restore that destroyed max HP because there's less, so it's easier to fix. You don't need to use someone like Grand Oak Podrick or Marishka who can fully restore it. Number two, on his A2 Dune Tempest, this is where he cleanses all debuffs and heals himself. The amount healed is proportional to the total amount of destroyed max HP on the enemy team. He's doing half as much as before, so he will heal himself for half as much from now on. So that's a pretty massive change, actually. So that's another big change here. Now, this is a big one, guys. So the slumber counter. Originally, you had 10 points from stages 1 to 5, 7 from 6 to 15, and 5 from stages 16 to 25. Very punitive, right? Really tough. So, for example, Ruella is a triple hitter to place her 3 debuffs. It's really hard, you know, right? If you can only do 5 hits before he wakes up, if you've got a Giant Slayer on her, if you've got Phantom Touch or anything like that, you can easily wake the boss up instantly, and you're screwed. If you want to use Romantu or the Calamitous, right? If you happen to have those champions, they're 4 hits for their debuffs. They can do lots, but they're 4 hits. It's a problem, right? You can't have other champions attacking. Now, it caps out at 8. So it's way easier. It's much more forgiving to build a speed tune and use champions at multi-hit attacks. Way more forgiving, and you don't need to worry half as much about masteries and blessings and stuff like that. And you can also see it's now much more spread out. So you now have 16 slumber counter hits on stages 1 to 5. There is basically no chance that you wake him up. 14 from stages 6 to 10. 12 from 11 to 15. I mean, it's almost twice as much as what you had before. 10 from stages 16 to 20, and 8 from 21 to 25. So, I mean, even the hardest version of the slumber counter in this new nerf version of Sand Devil, you have more pips on the counter than you did at stage 6 before. Like, that's a huge change to make it much, much, much more forgiving. Now, obviously, he still wakes up as well when he takes a turn if you've got a 1-turn sleep. But 2-turn sleeps could be a big thing if there's any 2-turn sleep champions, etc. You might have noticed in the damage of the run, in terms of his maximum HP going down, I think this is coupled with his defense going down, and obviously also his damage reduction being easier to remove. Before, the biggest hit my newts could do was 490,000. Now it's 308,000. So the boss just straight up has like 1/3 of his HP cut off. Actually more, right? Almost 2/5 of his HP. Almost 40% of his HP is just gone. Like, so he's much squishier. Not sure how that's going to translate through the different floors, but he's looking to be much squishier. And I think also his accuracy resistance requirements, I think they will have gone down as well. So I think the boss's speed is still the same, but I think basically all of his other stats have gone down a lot. And yeah, it's going to be much easier to beat. So I thought, for fun, I thought, well, let's say, I don't know, let's go into stage 5. And what I thought I would do, where did I put the team? Over here. So I thought I'd throw in a team together, right, with Chronicler Adolin, who can sleep, and she puts out 2 extra debuffs. And she also gives us more damage for every debuff she places. Great. We'll put her in with Arbiter and the Fusion Champion, and then Ruella, who's an epic debuffer, and then Whisper, who's an epic damage dealer. This is not early game gear. It's not insane end game gear, but this is like kind of insane late game gear. But this is just more of a concept. And if we hop through the different floors, like if we go into stage 5, you're going to see we absolutely destroy it. I also thought it was funny. So my initial idea, wait, did she miss the, oh, sorry, you know what? Here we go. Let me show you actually one new cool feature. Sorry, I forgot about this. If we jump over, because I switched the Sifi gear onto Adolin, we can use the new preset feature, which is great. So I can go Sifi gear. Did I steal the wrong stuff? No, this is good. Okay, great. Steal the Sifi gear. Brings us up to really high speed. More than we need, obviously. Yes, perfect. So we just have a like-for-like comparison. I did try Adolin instead of Sifi, and we actually have too much speed. I had to change the speed tune. I tried the team. Right? This one, swapping out Sifi for Adolin, and it doesn't quite work. It needs some speed tune shenanigans, because basically all the newts go before the boss takes a turn because of the decreased speed debuff Adolin does. So I think it could work for sure, but it needs some speed tuning. So now we've got the speed on Adolin, and she'll place to sleep. If we jump through, again, we're going to go through a few difficulty levels of this, just to give you a concept. So we actually missed decreased defense here. But Whisper will ignore all defense if there's a weaken. Now, she's not going to hit as hard on that move, but I mean, she just basically destroyed the boss. It's only stage 5, so not really a surprise. If we go to stage 10, let's say, which is the first time you can get medium pots, let me show you the stats on this team. They're kind of, again, they're kind of crazy, but the point is, Adolin just needs to be the fastest to put the debuffs. Not sure what the accuracy is. Arbiter's just there with Incarnate because I was thinking Incarnate would be fun, right? Because if Arbiters are going to get killed, gives her unkillable. I didn't realize the boss actually ignores unkillable, so when I tested it on stage 25, I thought, okay, so it's just a fun idea. Ruella, obviously too much speed and accuracy, but it's the 3 debuffs, and Whisper with the damage stats is what's important. We go to stage 10, just smack a couple of stages. So we put a bunch of debuffs. I do have her with the blessing that can let her place leech. It's an extra debuff, which is going to help us do more damage. Unlike Whisper here on stage 10, just took off half the boss's health bar. She should get an extra turn, guaranteed. You can see even other champions are even chunking the boss, right? He's getting rinsed. I think he's a lot squishier than he is, I'm pretty sure, on a live game. If we go to, let's say, stage 15, we look at that. And then I think I did stage 20 and it was a lot slower. But like we come into stage 15 now, and Bonk, again, Whisper, she's just absolutely rinsing the boss. Again, we're getting all these extra turns. She's doing War Master and she's doing Phantom Touch. She eventually woke him up, but it's much more forgiving. And we can actually see, yes, our max HP got destroyed a bit. Adolin was able to fully heal it with her A2. She could fully restore the destroyed max HP. Nobody has any destroyed max HP. We're absolutely rinsing through. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to click map. So it has become a lot easier. I think I did stage 20 and it was tough. Let's try stage 19. You can get 2 to 3 potions where we're actually the right affinity. Actually, we're not the right affinity for her, but she can place her things anyway. So let's see this. Ruello is weak affinity for the other stage. Let's see like stage 19 roughly. Here we go. So again, where the boss just wakes up because his sleep expired. We weren't really anywhere close to it running out. So he's becoming a decent chunk tankier here, but I mean, Whisper still is doing good damage. So yeah, look, broadly speaking, I just wanted to show you the stat changes and how I think that could affect things. Now, hopefully the boss, he's going to nuke us here. Okay, he absolutely clapped, but you can see the destroyed HP is really not so bad. And Adolin now, yes, is able to fully restore it. So it's really not so bad. We've got ally protection out now for whatever that's worth. We'll get some boosts up here. There's a decreased speed. He's actually still asleep, but we didn't have the decreased defense. So this is going to take a bit more time. This is not perfectly set up, but actually Whisper with her extra turns might just kill it fairly quickly. She's getting extra turns for days, guys. Oh man, her A2 is just clapping. Again, it ignores all defense when the boss is vulnerable. So, sorry, when the boss has weaken on. So, yeah, even though the decreased defense was missed, we're still good. Okay, we could easily switch Ruella to having Giant Slayer now. We could easily run Ruella with Phantom Touch, or probably Cruelty is still best, and so on. Yeah, but I think there's a lot more potential for Adolin, and so on, thanks to this. She didn't fully fix the destroyed HP there. Actually, you could see it didn't fully fix it, but it's better. So there we go. Even stage 19, we're able to sort of smash through. It's not the perfect team. I tried it. If we try it on stage 25, it's not going to work. I think we just get one shot because, yeah, this was my great idea. Like, this is a great team. Nub, you're a genius. Wow, it's a use for the fusion. Give Arbiter unkillable, survive the feasting swarm. But yes, this is the best idea ever. I mean, we're even chunking the boss right here. Like, look at this. He's getting kind of chunked. Like, this is stage 25, guys. Whisper's done a third of his HP. It's pretty significant. I was like, this is such a great idea. Absolute genius move. Actually, well, Arbiter did survive there. But yeah, he ignores this move ignores unkillable, so it doesn't work. I mean, it will work on the other moves, but yeah, not perfectly, to say the least. Yeah, we'll survive a good bit. Maybe we will kill it. I'll pause it. I'll let you know if we do kill it, and then we'll see. I think we're just gonna die though. We'll see. Yes. Okay, so we can see exactly what's happened. The boss's A1 has placed. There you go. Ignore unkillable. Decrease accuracy. We missed the sleep. everyone keeps dying. So it doesn't work on stage 25, but there is a lot of potential, I think, for like non-max HP nukers to really clap the boss. Champions like Turvold and Whisper, Gala long braids, that sort of stuff. So yeah, big changes there. Let's look at Phantom Shogun next. All right, so for Phantom Shogun, again, let's watch the... this is from, again, the live servers, this video right here. I recorded this on my account. We're using the exact same team. Nothing has changed. Everything is the same. We are going to be, again, running this. And yeah, this is from the live server. And then we're going to see it on the test server as well, where there's pretty massive changes. It's going to make it a lot more accessible. So I've seen actually a good few people leaving comments on my initial guide on this team. And something that I didn't realize when I made it is that you actually do need high blessings. It's not simply about having a certain number of blessing stars amongst your team. But for instance, having those stars on Reliquary Tender or on Paragon is not as good because those champions don't attack every turn. Whereas having Awakening stars on Gnarlhorn or Cold Heart or Elenarl or whoever your other, the 5th damage dealer can be anyone. In fact, I mean, this team's quite flexible actually. But because they attack every turn, they are much more effective at keeping the shade counter low. And if this counter builds up too much, then the boss will start getting extra effects, right? As soon as you hit 10 on the counter, it becomes immune to poison, right, etc. On the live servers, well, a lot of this stuff has changed when we switch over to the test server. Again, this is from the live server. You can see that my team works, but I do have high awakenings on several of these champions, which makes it, which is what makes it work. But it's going to become a lot more forgiving when we jump over. So yeah, you can see this team. This is still a great budget team. And again, you could replace Elenarl with just like another Cold Heart to make it super budget. And it's just literally all rares at that point. Elenarl is nice. She puts an irresistible burn. And there you go. So you can see that works. Let's jump over to this. So number one thing you might see immediately on the live game, best time is 1:23. Best time on this is 1:13. So we've shaved some time off. So if we jump in, now this is the test server. Let's see what has changed. So one thing you'll notice if you're focusing on the damage numbers is it's going to be, the damage numbers are a lot higher. You're going to see his health bar, I think, go down a good chunk faster as well. Let's see. This should be a good thing. Look, 13 points. Cold Heart. What? I know you're saying, nope, what just happened? Cold Heart just did an A1, and his entire shade counter disappeared. This is crazy. Oh, also, I forgot to turn off, I was experimenting. You can see that Elenarl, with her A2, is now landing poisons. I turned her A2 on. I actually meant to turn it off for the showcase here, but I forgot. Doesn't really matter. We might also, if we get lucky, which is how I got the record, we might actually see Brimstone land, whereas you might not have spotted it. I don't even know if it went off in the previous one. But Brimstone previously was being resisted because she's only 1 star and she doesn't have enough accuracy. I think my Elenarl has maybe 400 or 500 accuracy, but it wasn't enough. In fact, even we've got decreased attack landed there from Reliquary Tender. So that's a big change which has happened. Looks like we're not going to get the record this time. The accuracy requirements, again, have gone down. You'll probably notice, again, our damage is higher. The boss's HP and defense has gone down. I haven't paid attention to if he's hitting harder or not. I think this time is going to work out as somewhat similar. But yeah, 122. I think that's actually, oh yeah, that's actually, it's better than my best time. Better than my best time right there. And we can see this time, Cold Heart, her damage has gone up compared to Elenarl. Again, that's sort of fiddling as well with the burns. Let's turn that off. Let's turn it off. But yeah, so the accuracy requirement, yeah, Elenarl 500 accuracy. On the live servers, not enough to land poisons, not enough to land Brimstone. Here on the test server, it is. So the accuracy requirements have gone down a lot, which is really, really good. So let's run it again with her not using the poisons, and we'll sort of see how it goes. But yeah, she could land, if she lands Brimstone there, we'll get a tick and whatnot. So what has changed with this anyway? Let's bring it up while we are here, and you guys can sort of watch this in the background. I'll try not to cover the shade counter so we can sort of figure out what is happening right there. So a few things happening on Phantom Shogun. So number one, this is kind of massive. Obviously with this team, I have it set up in such a way that we never, ever, ever weak hit the boss. He just gets shade counter if he crits, which he can do, and when we cleanse off his debuffs, right? So there he gets 5 shade counter, and then he gets some more from that. So yeah, before, whenever you did a weak hit, you would get 8 points on the shade counter, which is bad because it starts doing stuff from 10 points. It gets really bad. And that was the same for stages 1 to 25. This has now been radically and drastically, if you combine them, you get drastically changed, where now a weak hit on stages 1 to 10 only increases the shade counter by 2. From stages 11 to 20, it increases it by 4. And then for 21 to 25, it increases it by 6. So even now at stage 25, a weak hit is not as bad as it was before. Even up to stage 20, it's giving you half as many points on the shade counter as before. So it is a massive, massive improvement. Another thing which has changed, there are a bunch of bonus effects that the boss gets from a shade counter. Before, those used to be at 10, 20, 30, and 40. Now it's at 20, 30. It's basically up by 10. If we jump into the guide, let me show you. So there's a couple of things. Number 1, which hasn't changed. He's still... Okay, so Wraith Javelin, which I think he never does against this team for whatever reason. But this will still ignore block damage at 10. And ignores unkillable at 20, etc. So I don't think that has not... Let me see. I don't think that has changed. Yeah, I don't think that has changed. I think that is still the same. It's sort of his secret move that he doesn't use that much for whatever reason. What has changed, though, is this. Now, this used to be at 10, 20, 30, and 40. Now it's like this. So at 20, he doesn't receive damage from poisons. So this used to kick in much earlier. So now poisons are much more viable. At 30, he did not receive damage from HP burns or smite. This used to be at 20. So now it's much more doable. And then at 40, he doesn't receive damage from max HP. And finally, at 50, all of his attacks ignore 100% defense. I think he even caps out at 50, if I'm not mistaken. So that makes it much, much easier. Again, this used to be at 10, 20, 30, and 40. Now it's 20, 30, 40, and 50. It gives you a lot more flexibility. The biggest change, though, is this one. So the shade counter is not so bad, but this is absolutely huge. So what happened before is with an awakening level, it would reduce the shade counter once per attack equal to your awakening level. So for instance, 6-star Cold Heart, whenever she does an attack, reduces the shade counter by 6. 1-star Elenarl, whenever she does an attack, reduces the shade counter by 1. Now what happens instead, the shade counter is decreased basically per hit. Per hit, but it scales up. So for example, at level 1, the first hit removes 1 stack, subsequent hits don't do anything. At level 2, the first hit removes 2, the second hit of your skill removes 1. At level 3, 3 and 1. At level 4, the first hit removes 4, the second hit removes 2, the third hit removes 1, then 5, 2 and 1, 6, 3 and 1. This is a really big change. So for example, Cold Heart, at 6-star before, when she does her A1, which is a 4-hitter move, before, it would knock 6 points off the shade counter. Now, it will knock 10 points off the shade counter because she removes 6 with her first hit, 3 stacks with her second, and 1 with her third. So that is really big. You know, instead of a 6-star rare, right, instead of removing 6 points from shade counters, now removing 10, which is just massive. Again, the max shade reduction has also really improved. So this is breaking it down. At 1-star, it's 1, 2-star, 3, 3-star, 4. Jumps a lot at 4-star from 4 to 7, but you do need a triple hit move. Then 8 at 5 and 10 at 6. So yeah, multi-hitters are going to be really nice for this. Yeah, and so on. I think Cold Heart is really the perfect champion for this boss now. She's really the perfect champion for this boss because she's rare. Everyone builds her. She's going to be on your wish list, like always. You're probably going to build multiple copies. She has a multi-hit A1. That makes it so much easier. Then his max HP is also lower. So before, the burn, which is 5% max HP, was doing 134,000 damage. Now it's doing 88,000. So just all of his stats are down. Right, stats are down, down, down. Accuracy is definitely down. Yeah, they're the big changes to the Phantom Shogun. I think this is pretty significant, honestly. So weak hits are way less punishing. Um, he gets bonus effects later on. Again, makes it less punishing. It's much easier to reduce his shade counter with the new way that it calculates. Multi-hitters are important. The boss is just squishier. You need way less accuracy resistance. We'll find out the exact amounts for all of these bosses, by the way, when it goes live. And we can get, like, data mine the actual stats. That's where, instead of... I mean, I could figure it out. I could, like, put in Elenarl with 500 accuracy, now 495, now 490, and I could just do it over and over again. Or we could just wait. Like, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, so we'll just wait. Then finally, we've got Iron Twins. Right, let's dive in. So this is Iron Twins, my team on the live game. I'll tell you right now that this boss, for me, with this team, has the least amount of changes because, right, the way this team basically works is Geomancer reflects damage, and of course, as you may or may not know, you can see the max HP ticks here. Whenever Geomancer reflects damage, he's got a chance to do, I think it's 3% enemy max HP damage, and it just always does that, right? There's no check for how much crit damage he has, or ignore defense, decrease defense, weaken, whatever. So really the only source of damage in this team is the reflect damage and the max HP from Geomancer. So when we apply it across, I think the boss's stats are also much lower, but there's no one on the team that really shows it, unfortunately, because nobody else in this team really does damage. But there are some major changes to Iron Twins, which we will break down anyway. In fact, maybe we'll break them down first. You get the idea. This is Iron Twins. This is how it works. So what has changed for Iron Twins? Well, one change you're going to see is on his A2 and his A3. So his two sort of active moves that he does when he's below above 40% HP. These used to give Iron Brand stacks. It'd be like 10 to the person with the highest defense, then 9, then 8, then 7, or something like that. Same thing with his A3, maybe in highest attack. I don't know. I can't remember exactly. But now it's changed from 10, 9, 8, 7 to 7, 6, 5, and 4. So basically, Iron Brand, these debuffs are going to build up a lot slower on your team, which is going to make it a lot easier to survive. And I suspect that the boss will probably also just do less damage as well. So it's going to be much easier to build just a regular team. Like, this is not a block damage team. This is a regular team. But obviously, we've got very good gear enabling this. So yeah, and let's jump into it now on the test server. I did switch Geomancer to the other blessing just to see if it did any difference, but not really. It didn't really. But yeah, now it's going to be, I think, much easier to survive. So the Iron Brand is just going to build up slower. I think also the accuracy requirements are going to be lower. I think the resistance requirements are going to be lower as well. So it's going to be a good bit easier, probably, to build enough resistance to resist the boss. Again, we will confirm that when this stuff actually goes live. But yeah, I'm pretty sure, again, much like Phantom Shogun, I'm pretty sure Sand Devil, the accuracy requirements have gone down. That will be confirmed with data mining, of course. But it seems to be so. Okay, we got unlucky and this stuff got cleansed. It's going to be a bit of a slower run. Let's just shrink this and we'll go here. So, another big change. Before, the boss, so when he does this passive, right, where he cleanses all the debuffs and like takes an extra turn, he used to do this 4 times. Not at 49, but at 40. So we used to do it at 85% HP, 70, 55, and 40. This has now been changed. It only happens 3 times now, at 80, 60, and 40. I think that's a great change, actually. I think that's a really nice change, in fact. It also makes it easier to judge. It's quite hard, like, what's 85%? What's 55%? It's awkward to judge. It's easier at a bit of an eyeball to see 80, 60, and 40. I think it would still be better if there were more obvious pips in the health bar, or if there were different colors of health bar or something to make that more, just better visually communicated to the player. But I think it's easier to get a rough vibe for it. And it also means, again, if you're going for any sort of team, the boss is going to be cleansing your debuffs much less often, which is going to make it much easier to actually build a consistent team, which is great. One thing you'll also see, his max HP is down. So Geomancer's passive before was doing 147,000 or whatever. Now it's doing, I think, 105,000 when he procs the max HP. So 105,000. So that's showing, once again, the boss's max HP is down like about 1/3. Like, it's down a really big chunk. It's a lot less HP that the boss has. I think his other stuff is going to go down as well. We just haven't really seen it. And the accuracy and resistance. So, yeah, I think you put it together. Yeah, even if we look at all these bosses, the strategies will maybe not change majorly. I think Iron Twins... Oh, sorry, this is actually terrible. My head's in the way. Let's go back to this. So what is really going to change with these bosses? So for Iron Twins, I think it would be much easier to build a non-unkillable team. I think it's also going to be much easier to build a non-Geomancer team. I think those are both great pieces of news. I think you can also do nuke teams, which are very effective. They'll still be good. But yeah, it should be much, much easier to kill the boss. It should be much, much easier to survive against the boss. He's just much squishier. Accuracy and resistance probably requirements are both down. It's just much easier to build teams, and that should translate through all the different floors of the boss as well. So it should become much more accessible. I think the types of teams you're building aren't going to majorly change. Your block damage team is still going to work just fine. And like, this change doesn't really affect you, and maybe this change doesn't affect it much. Like my team, the time hasn't really changed. My team's almost identical, but it's now much easier to build this team because your stat requirements are much lower. So Iron Twins, just the stat requirements are all down, but everything still works the same. For Sand Devil and Shogun are the bigger changes. Sand Devil is probably a pretty big change, and that's a really important dungeon to farm. It's become way easier at all levels, really, to deal with the slumber counter. It's become way easier to deal damage. The stat requirements are lower. The HP destruction is lower, the healing. So yeah, again, I think all of the traditional teams should still work just fine. It's just going to be much easier to build them. It's going to be faster to kill them, easier to survive. Yeah, a lot easier to do damage, which is great. And the slumber counter is much easier to play around. I expect we could see a lot more budget teams coming in with more accessible champions that can farm the boss quickly, right? We will see. I'm very excited to see the experimentation there. I mean, I showed you a little bit, but you guys will push that much further. Phantom Shogun also became much easier. Again, the shade counter, weak hits not as punishing. The shade counter takes longer to punish you. And yeah, your awakenings do more to push the boss back. So you'll definitely want to switch in. Multi-hitters are really strong with high awakenings. Will have a really big impact on controlling the shade counter. The boss is also squishier. I think this is good, right? Like, I think Nightmare Hydra, you needed like 405 accuracy or something. But for some of these dungeons, you need like 600 accuracy. It was crazy. I think it's going to be brought more in line with that, is my understanding. I mean, we will see when we get the exact numbers, but yeah, they become much, much, much easier to do across all levels. Like, they've really done a lot, I think, to make all levels of this more approachable. Yeah, but like, the teams probably, again, not going to majorly change. I think the teams for Sand Devil will change the most. Like, it's not, I need to build a Godseeker duo, and that's about it. Or like, you know, maybe Blizzard solo, or just crazy whale teams. I think more normal teams will be able to come in. I think the teams for Shogun are still going to be kind of the same. It's just going to be much more forgiving to control the shade counter. And it's just going to be easier. And yeah, there you go. Let me know what you think about these boss changes. I was kind of wondering, would they do bigger reworks? They've really not, I think, done big reworks. They've kept the mechanics basically as they are. They've really just mostly nerfed the stats of the bosses and really nerfed some of their mechanics on Sand Devil and Phantom Shogun in particular. But yeah, it's kind of like you're sort of doing the same boss, but it's much easier. It should make it much less of a hassle, honestly. It should make it much less of a hassle. So yeah, there we go. I am excited to see what teams will come out of this. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.